Enkanomiya dropped not too long ago, and with it came a lot of new lore-breaking stuff. And if you haven't done any of the quests from Enkanomiya, I wouldn't recommend watching this video, because there will be heavy spoilers. We learned about experiments, child sacrifice, and my favorite part personally was the creation of Teyvat. Today, I'm going to cover how Teyvat was created and the creation concepts that inspire it. There's a lot to cover here, so buckle up and let's get going. But first, before we begin though, if you enjoy Teyvat's facts and wisdom, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. After the video is over, join us over in our community Discord server, where we talk all about Genshin, including lore. We're also going to be streaming on YouTube Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. PST. But anywho, with that said, let's open the Teyvat and see what's been uncovered. Everything started from the empty human realm. There are actually 3 realms in fact: the human, light, and void. The empty one was ruled by 7 dragon heirs, or Vishaps. Vishaps came from the light realm or elemental realm. Humans chose sun children, crowned them, and worshipped them. The people of Enkanomiya hated the sun children, though Silene was their caretaker. Each sun child had their own unique things about them, and they were still kids at the end of the day. Silene was the caretaker for all 7 sun children at one point. Silene was not supposed to ever talk to the sun children. Every time they had a concern, she had to ignore them. These children were scared sometimes, and she wasn't able to console them. Though the inhabitants of Enkanomiya despised the sun children, these were still children at the end of the day, and were sacrificed, which is majorly fucked up. I'll get into them on a different day though, because that's an entirely different topic. Unnumbered years passed, and one of the Enkanomiya children stumbled upon a profane serpent. They felt a kinship with each other. They then conversed, where the serpent says, "Though my servants are numberless, not one mortal dwells in my shadow. That I have fallen into this realm, and that we should meet, perhaps this is fate. You are not one of my people, but you are human nonetheless. Speak your desire, and I shall hear it." The boy then asks, "Could you then perchance become our god?" From there, the human and serpent go forth to face the royal authority of the sun children and the incursions of the dragon heirs beyond. Thus was the curtain raised on the turning of the tide. Enka was a very messed up place. Delving further into the Byakuya Chronicles, we come to know about Volume 2, where the creation of the world starts. The eternal throne of the heavens came down, and the world was made anew. The primordial one came forth and did battle against the 7 terrifying sovereigns of the world, or the dragon lords of the old world. It then created 4 shining shades of itself. The primordial one is known as Phanis, and it was known for having wings and a crown, and was birthed from an egg androgynous in nature. For the world to be created, the eggshell had to be broken. Phanis, the primordial one, used the eggshell to separate the universe and the microcosm of the world. To me, this terminology means to separate the earth and the heavens. In the Orphic tradition of Greek mythology, Phanis is described as the Lightbringer, or the primordial god or creation god. In Orphic tradition, the world is created from a serpent bringing an egg forth. Inside that egg is Phanis. And from there, Phanis hatched from the egg in the fashion I described earlier. The world was made from this egg being hatched, and thus Phanis split itself into 4 shining shades. Each one of these shades doing its part to create the world. Phanis split the heavens and earth, or as what Volume 2 states, used the eggshell to separate the universe and the microcosm of the world. 40 years pass, and eventually the 7 sovereigns are vanquished, and the 7 nations submitted to the heavens. From there, creation had started. Phanis worked with one of his shades and created the birds of the air, the beasts of the earth, and the fish of the sea. Together, they also created flowers, grass, and trees. They created those before the creation of humans, or their ancestors as they referred to as. There were many humans, as there were stars in the sky. With this, the humans made a covenant with the Primordial One, and thus the New Age had started. The Primordial One had a sacred plan for the humans. As long as they were happy, it too rejoiced. The humans worshipped the Primordial One and its shades, but eventually they stopped hearing the humans' prayers, and an era of darkness had started once the second throne of the heavens came and war was rekindled. That's pretty much how the world of Teyvat had begun its creation process. These creation concepts can be traced to other mythological pieces that also have the same concept as how the world was created, or the world egg. The Primordial One's shades helped create the world, but we don't know who these shades are other than Kairos, the god of time. These shades helped with the creation of Teyvat though, as one of the shades is described in helping Phanis. It's really peculiar though, because the same exact model of world creation had been done before, according to Venti. In the Genshin Impact manga, he says some strange dialogue right before Vanessa ascends for Celestia. In other distant worlds, Pongu gave his blood to form the rivers and seas. The gods sacrificed Purusha and cut his body to pieces, and then fashioned all living beings with those parts. The brain of the giant Ymir became clouds. Their sacrifices seeded life into the unliving cosmos. These songs sing of the primeval ones. Each of these beings mentioned is a mythological creature being. Pongu is a creation in Chinese mythology who separated heaven and earth, and thus became geographic features such as mountains and rivers. In this creative myth, the universe was nothing and a primordial state. The primordial state, however, coalesced into a cosmic egg for about 18,000 years. Within the egg, Pongu and the principles of yin and yang, with the swing of his axe, he separated yin and yang, thus creating the earth and the sky. In certain stories of Pongu, he is aided by 4 beasts, being a Kilen, a phoenix, a turtle, and a dragon. We've seen Kilen in Genshin before, and dragons, so who knows if there's a connection or not. After the 18,000 years went by, Pongu breathed. His breath became the wind, mist, and clouds. His voice, thunder. His left eye, the sun. His right eye, the moon. His head, the mountains and extremes of the world. His blood, rivers. His muscles, fertile land. His facial hair, the stars and Milky Way. His fur, bushes and forests. His bones, valuable minerals. His bone marrow, precious jewels. His sweat, rain. And the fleas on his fur carried by the wind became animals. Thank you, Wikipedia. So Pongu's creation myth is very similar to the concept of where we saw Phanis. Going into the next being mentioned by Venti, let's dive into Purusha. In Hindu philosophy, Purusha is the universal principle that is without form. Again, the world is a clean slate. Purusha breathes life into matter, is the source of all consciousness, and the one who creates oneness in all forms. Purusha is the existence and the reason why the universe operates, and is therefore always changing and evolving, much against being static. Lastly, there is Ymir from Norse mythology. In the Poetic Edda, the modern name of an untitled collection of several Old Norse anonymous poems, in 4 different poems, it depicts Ymir being born from venom that dipped into icy rivers, and lived in a grassless void. This void is a primordial void, or a void at the earliest stage of development. Once again, a clean slate. Ymir was an androgynous being like how Phanis is described. It gave birth to a male and female from its armpits, and from there formed a 6-headed being. Other beings helped shape the earth and sucked from a cow's udders. That's all I'm gonna say from here. But as we see, these concepts are very similar to how the human realm in Teyvat was created, in starting with a void of nothingness. What's really interesting about Enkanomiya, or Byakuya Koko, are the Greek origins it has. From what we know, by just exploring Enka are the plethora of Greek names. It is implied in one of the Enkanomiya quests that the world was once a single civilization, and obviously in due time, Enkanomiya collapsed and sunk into the abyssal depths. It makes me wonder if the creation method of Teyvat is Greek's model, considering Phanis is mentioned. But as we do know, Genshin has a wide variety of mixed mythological and cultural concepts. If Genshin is based on Greek's Orphic cosmogony, Phanis hatched from the world egg and split itself into 4 shades. This concept of splitting could come from Phanis splitting into a primordial mix of elements, being Kronos and Ananke. Kronos was the primordial god of time. At the dawn of creation, he was seen as an incorporeal god or having no material existence, and was a serpentine in form with 3 heads, one of a man, a bull, and a lion. With the help of his consort, Ananke, or the incorporeal goddess of necessity, compulsion, and inevitability, their serpentine coils came together and crushed the primal egg of creation, splitting it into parts of earth, heaven, and the sea to form the ordered universe. After their creation, Ananke and Kronos encircled the cosmos to drive the rotation of heaven, and of course, the eternal passage of time. These are just 2 beings though. Phanis split itself into 4 different shades. One of the shades of Phanis is Kairos, the time deity, and that's the only one we know about. The other 3, we have no idea who they could be. And the ancestors prayed to these 3 shades in Phanis, but they didn't appear. Kairos was the only one who stood by them. Makes you wonder where these 3 shades went. And I think these 3 shades could be with Celestia now. From what we see in the manga, there are 3 hooded figures. Maybe instead of being based on the Genie Cucullati, these are the 3 shades, while Kairos is being hidden somewhere. One last concept I want to bring up is that Phanis goes by another name, Eros. Eros is one of the 5 children of Chaos. Altogether, there is 1 being and 4 shades. Perhaps the 4 shades are the 4 other children of Chaos, being Nyx, Gaia, Tartarus, and Erebus. Chaos is depicted as the origin of everything in the empty space at the beginning of time. The universe has no beginning, no end, and so it was with the land that once was. With the cosmic egg and Phanis emerging with his 4 shades, created the world out of nothing. I'm not sure if these beings could relate to the 4 shades, but any of these concepts on creation make sense for how the human realm was created. Well, that wraps up how Teyvat was created. At the end of the day, the creation concepts for how Teyvat was formed come from a multitude of different cultures. The idea of the world egg is seen in many other cultures around the world, but these are the specific connections I found according to Genshin. What do you guys think though? Share your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say, as well as your thoughts on Enkanomiya. There's going to be another huge lore drop coming soon, and as we know, there's still a lot more about Enka that I haven't brought up today. I'll be talking more about that later, especially as more information comes out in the next update. Anywho though, I'm going to close the Teyvattionary. Thanks for watching, and with that said, I will see you in the future for more Genshin Impact content and lore.